Welcome in, everybody, to Auburn Undercover. My name is Nathan King. Some breaking news here on this late Thursday night as Cadillac Williams, the legendary Auburn football player, assistant coach for the past 5 seasons, and interim coach during the 2022 season, has stepped down on Hugh Freeze's staff. This is a move that, for us, we had been hearing rumblings about the past couple weeks that he may not be on this staff next season, but is obviously a big shock to Auburn fans of somebody who's not only been a part of this program as a legendary football player, but has been an integral part of the coaching staff going all the way back to the final few years of the Gus Malzahn era. Get into some statements here from both Cadillac and Hugh Freeze that were sent out when Auburn released this news. Cadillac's statement is as follows, quote, after taking time to pray and reflect, I've made the decision to resign from my position with Auburn football to pursue other opportunities. I love Auburn, the players, and AU family with all my heart, but this decision is what is best for me, my wife, and sons. I'm extremely grateful for the coaching opportunity given to me first by Coach Malzahn and most recently by Coach Freeze. These past 5 years on the Plains have been nothing short of incredible. Auburn is and always will be a special part of my life. War Eagle signed off Carnell Cadillac Williams. And then Hugh Freeze's statement, quote, we are incredibly appreciative of Carnell and what he's done for the Auburn football program. During his time on the coaching staff, he led Auburn through a time of transition and is one of the program's all-time greats. I know this wasn't easy for him, but I respect his decision and wish him nothing but the best. This is obviously something that opens up a staff spot for Auburn and is something that Hugh Freeze is going to be looking to address pretty quickly here as there's still need for visitors. 2025 recruits are coming in this weekend, and generally they need this coaching staff in place because winter workouts have already gotten underway and they're getting ready for spring practice in about 2 months. But greater than that, sort of zoomed out on what Cadillac Williams meant to Auburn. This is obviously a guy who is one of the faces of the program going back 20 years, is now no longer part of your program. Obviously was the number 5 overall pick back in 2005. One of the best running backs in program history, if not the second best running back in program history behind Bo Jackson, was part of spectacular teams there in the early 2000s. Then went on to play in the NFL and made his return to Auburn as an assistant coach hired by Gus Malzahn back in 2019. So he spent 5 seasons at Auburn. Brian Harsin ended up retaining him as his running backs coach. And then those 4 games, that 4-game stretch as the interim head coach at the end of the 2022 season, that's obviously not going to be forgotten by Auburn fans for a long time. It was the tail end of what felt like a year where the walls were caving in on Auburn. Not a lot went right that season. They obviously fired their head coach. But when Cadillac was made the interim, there was sort of an energy that was reinvigorated in the program. Hugh Freeze has even said it himself that he was sitting on his couch as the head coach at Liberty, watching Cadillac Williams drive that team to a win over Texas A&M, watching how he almost single-handedly generated that environment against Texas A&M. And that, life force that he sort of created for the program during a 5-7 season, as Freeze said in his statement, was huge for that transition to Auburn and him having Cadillac on his staff. Remember the night that Hugh Freeze got hired, Cadillac Williams was announced as it wasn't announced, but it was very clear on social media that he was going to be part of the staff. And Freeze said it was his first order of business to make Cadillac the associate head coach. And so this is obviously not something that Auburn fans are going to take super easily. In terms of the details here, there's not a lot of them. There's obviously not a lot of them in the release, and I wouldn't expect that we're going to get a lot of them moving forward, whether it's in the short term or the long term, just because of this situation here is obviously it's a Cadillac Williams' own decision, and it comes from his side of things to step down here. Whether there's more to it, again, it's unlikely that we will get a lot of details on that moving forward. Maybe in the long term, we'll see what happens. Obviously, we're not going to talk to Hugh Freeze for a little while. We'll talk to him a couple times before spring practice gets rolling, but I would doubt that obviously he's going to supply much on that front as well. So at the end of the day, Auburn is down another position coach. They're down an assistant slot here. Obviously, they are still looking for an offensive coordinator. The names that have been popping up now for the past couple weeks for these two vacant assistant slots, they make a lot more sense for Auburn. We had reported the first day that the offensive coordinator job was open that Ken Austin was a serious candidate there because Hugh Freeze, all indications are that he wants to be more involved in the play calling. He wants to go back to being his own play caller, have a bigger hand in the offense. Ken Austin is a guy who's been coaching Freeze's quarterbacks going back to his time at Liberty. He was basically in an assistant quarterback coach role this season because of the new analyst rule. All of Auburn's quarterbacks talked about how much he was able to coach them and how much they leaned on him this season, elevating him to head coach, or excuse me, to quarterback coach, maybe in a co-OC sort of label, co-coordinator label. But then Derek Nix is the one that sort of makes a lot more sense now when you look at this situation with Cadillac Williams being gone. Why is that? Well, Derek Nix coached running backs back at Ole Miss. He's been at Ole Miss a really long time, since 2008. He's been an assistant there. This is a guy that Freeze was interested in for offensive coordinator last year before deciding, hey, maybe it's a better idea to get someone like Philip Montgomery that I can mesh my ideals with and sort of hand the offense over to him. If it's going to be more of Hugh Freeze's show, it's very possible that Derek Nix could be the next offensive coordinator at Auburn, and then he would go to coach running backs, obviously with the void left behind by Cadillac Williams' departure. And so those are a couple names that we are continuing to keep an eye on for what are now 2 vacant assistant slots on Auburn's offensive staff. So some breaking news and some news, that's gonna make things feel a lot different. Obviously, Auburn fans are really used to seeing one of the heroes, one of the legends of the Auburn football program being around the building and being part of the team. That will no longer be the case, as Cadillac Williams has stepped down on Auburn's football staff. At auburnundercover.com, I'm Nathan King. Thanks for joining us.